Hello guys, in this tutorial you will learn all about Python strings. Alright, before we start coding, let's see what strings are. The concept of strings is one of the first things you encounter while learning the basics of programming. Strings are very useful when communicating information from the program to the user of the program. A string is a collection of alphabets, words, or other characters. It is one of the primitive data structures for data manipulation. Strings in Python can contain as many characters as you wish. The only limit is your machine's memory resources. Remember, strings are used to represent and store text-based information. Now, let's see how we can create strings in Python. Strings can be created by enclosing characters inside a single quote or double quotes. Even triple quotes can be used in Python, but generally used to represent multi-line strings and docstrings. Look at these variables. This is how you can define strings: variable name, assignment sign, single or double quotation, and value. First, let's see the difference between single and double quotations. In terms of data type, there is no difference between single and double quotations. If I print the type of these two variables, both of them are strings. In some languages, for example C#, we must use single quotation to define a character, but in Python we can use single or double quotation to define our text variables. Imagine you want to print this sentence in Python. In this example, double quotation is part of the sentence. What will happen if we print this code? Let's see. If we print that, Python gives a syntax error. Python is okay with first part of this code. But after that, the program is having problems. How can we solve this problem and print quotations in output? The solution is you can use single quotations inside double quotations and use double quotations inside single quotations. In other words, single quotes allow you to embed double quotes in your string, and double quotes allow you to embed single quotes in your string. Look at our example again. If I change these double quotations to single quotation, as you see, there are no syntax error and the program runs correctly. And if I change these quotations, again, there are no syntax errors. Alright, now let's talk about string escape sequences. Escape sequences allow you to include special characters in strings. To do this, simply add a backslash before the character you want to escape. Let's get back to our previous example. We saw that this line of code runs with an error. With the help of escape characters, we can run that. Let's look at the list of Python escape characters. As you can see, the quotation escape character is backslash. To access the list of escape sequences, we can type Python escape sequences in Google. So let's type a backslash before the quotations we want to escape, this and this. Now if we run the program, there will be no syntax error. Okay, let's do this example one more time with single quotation. So let's define another variable, sentence under line 2, single quotation, and our sentence. As you can see, I'm a programmer is white, which means this syntax is wrong. So we have to use escape characters. Now if we print sequence under line 2 and run the program, we can see that the code runs perfectly. Let's have another example. Imagine you want to write a sentence with 2 lines. Let's see what will happen if I press enter at the middle of the sentence. First, let me delete these backslashes and quotations. Alright, now press enter and run the program. The program shows us the sentence in 1 line. So what should we do about this problem? Again, get back to the list of Python escape characters. You see that there is escape character \n for new line. Let's try this. \n. Look at the output. This is what we want. I recommend you put this list next to you and try them one by one to learn more about this topic. In the next part, I'm going to talk about string concatenation. Programmers love creating complex names when concepts may not be as complicated. For example, string concatenation. It simply means adding strings together. As with integer and floats, a string in Python can be added using a process called concatenation, which can be done on any 2 strings. Imagine we want to display these 2 variables together. For doing this, we can use the plus operator. The result of this command is without any space between them. In this situation, we can do 2 things. First, add a space in here or here. Now, if we run the program, we can see that the problem is fixed. Another way to add a space between two strings is adding another string with a space in print function. This is a string concatenation. Let's see another example. Imagine we define a variable and name it Python. Now let's print our variable and see the output. Now we want to add another string to that. If we print that, the output display Python course. Oops, let's add a space in here. Instead of using this command, we can use plus equal to concatenate strings. Plus equal is called in-place operator. In-place operator says, hey Python, please add this string to course name and put it back to itself. String concatenation is so important. If you do not understand this correctly, it's better to take another look. The next part is about string interpolation or string formatting. String interpolation is a process substituting values of variables into placeholders in a string. Let's define two variables. For example, we have a template for saying my name is username and my family is userfamily. Let's write it with our current knowledge without the string interpolation. This is not the best way to write the sentence. With a string interpolation, we can write our comment and code in a better style. For a string interpolation, we must put letter F behind our quotations. This feature is normally named the formatting string literal, but is more usually referred to by its nickname fstring. This F refers to formatting. Inside the quotation, I write the username is curly brackets. Inside curly brackets, I have access to my variables and I can call them. As you can see, the output is exactly like our last command. We are able to add different data types in our sentence. For instance, int or float. Let's add an age to our example. For example, the user age is 25. The program runs perfectly. Now let's do this the old way and see what will happen. Oh, we get a type error. It says I can concatenate the strings with the strings and you have an integer type in your code. So we have to convert age into a string. I can do this with a built-in function str and click run. Now the age is converted to a string and the program runs without error. The old way is a little cumbersome, isn't it? Let's stick to string formatting. Alright, let's talk about string indexes. Look at this variable. How many characters does it have? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Characters in strings have indexes. The Python language considers a box for a string and divides it based on the number of characters. In our example, we have 13 characters, so Python considers 13 boxes for our name. Each one of these characters has an index which starts from 0. This is a contract in Python. These indexes numbers are IDs for characters and we can access each character with its ID. Let's get back to our program. Alright, we have a variable. Let's print it out. The output brings back the Alex. Imagine we want to print the third character. To do this, you must write your variable name and then open a bracket and write the index that you want to see in the output. For example, if we want to see the third character, we must write 2 in the bracket. Remember, in Python, indexes start with 0. Now the output just shows us the letter T, which is the third character. If I write 0 in brackets, the output will become P, which is the first character. Imagine you wrote a game and you want to ask the user when he loses, do you want to play again or not? You want your program to be intelligent and not just be sensitive to the word yes, and be sensitive to words like yep, yeah, and yay. In this situation, you can define each of these words for the program, but the smart way is to sensitize the program to the letter Y, the first word index. Look at the second line. This is how I got the program smart. This line of code says, if the user's word starts with Y, reload the game. So if I run the program and print yup, the game will reload. And if I run again and write yes, the game will reload as well. But if I write no, the game will not reload. Remember, in Python, a space is a character. For instance, look at this example. I defined a variable and named it str. I am a programmer. If I print this code, the output shows us the second character. The output is not empty, so always remember to consider spaces in your counting. Python allows negative indexing for its sequences as well. The index of -1 refers to the last item, -2 to the second last item, and so on. We can access a range of items in strings by using the slicing operator, colon. This action is called string slicing. If you look at the result, you will realize that the letter A, which is the fifth index, is not in the output. It's because the second index is not included in the result. If you omit the first index, the slice starts at the beginning of the string. Similarly, if you omit the second index, the slice extends from the first index through the end of the string. This is nice. For example, you have a long string that is difficult to count. Omitting both indices returns the original string in its entirety. Literally, it's not a copy, it's a reference to the original string. There is one more variant of the slicing syntax to discuss. Adding an additional column and a third index designates a stride, which indicates how many characters to jump after retrieving each character in the slice. In this example, the slice 092 starts with the first character and ends with the last character, and every second character is skipped. As with any slicing, you can omit the first and the last stride. You can specify a negative stride value as well, in which case Python steps backward through the string. In that case, the first index should be greater than the second index. Alright, can we change or delete a string? Strings are immutable. This means that elements of a string cannot be changed once they have been assigned. We can simply reassign different strings to the same name. We cannot delete or remove characters from a string, but deleting the string entirely is possible using del keyword. With this keyword, you are able to delete your variables. You probably know how operators do in mathematics. These operators can be applied to strings as well. Let's see this with an example. In here, I will define 4 variables: S, T, U, and V. Alright, let's add them together and print them. S plus T. You see the output is I am, but there's no space between I and am. So let's add a space in here. Now it's better. Now let's print all variables together. Print S plus T plus U plus V. Now run the program. Let's add the spaces into variables. Run again. You see the output is combination of my variables. Alright, now let's talk about multiply. The multiply operator creates multiple copies of a string. Here's an example. Let's multiply variable S by 3. As you see, the answer is I. The I repeats 3 times. Instead of variable, we can write a string as well. If we print I, the answer will be the same. Remember, displacement has no effect on multiplication. The multiplier operand must be an integer. You would think it would be required to be a positive integer, but it's not. It can be 0 or negative, in which case the result is an empty string. Python also provides a membership operator that can be used with the strings. The in operator returns true if the first operand is contained within the second operand and false otherwise. So P in V is true because we have character P inside our string. And F in V is false because we don't have F in our variable V. We can write a string instead of variable. So O in programmer is true. There's also a not in operator which does the opposite. O not in variable V is false because there is O in variable V. D not in variable V is true because we don't have any D in our string. The last part of this video is about string built-in functions. Python provides many functions that are built into the interpreter and always available. If we type str dot, see all of these functions are available on strings. Let me explain some of them. The first one is upper. If we print str.upper and print it, here's what we get: a string with all capitals. This will not affect the original string. If I print str, you will see that the str is stayed the same. If we need the capital characters string, we can store it in a variable. For example, capital underline str. We also have the lower method to convert a string to a lowercase. We also have capitalize, which capitalize the first character. Functions are actually methods. When we use one of them, somewhere in Python, series of codes will run and do the job for us. We don't need to rewrite them, we just call them. These features explained entirely in another video. Thank you for watching this video.